Hi everyone, it's Christina from the DIYmommy.com, and today I want to share with you 10 simple DIY gifts that you can make for your friends and family this holiday season. Alright, so I'm not going to share all of my DIY and decor ideas for Christmas until next month. However, I wanted to slide in one Christmas themed video this month because it's all about handmade gifts for Christmas, and those can take a little bit more time to put together. This is a compilation video of some projects I've already put on my channel. Some of these are a few years old, so I thought it'd be fun to revive them and kind of bring them back to life. There is, however, one new project in this video. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find it. Comment below when you do. And as always, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to be the first to hear of upcoming videos. I'm going to share some more DIY gift ideas as we go along, so make sure to stay tuned for all of those. Let's get started. First, I want to show you how to make a really cute gift in a tin. These have been a huge hit on my blog over the past 5-6 years, and they're so simple to make and make a great gift for anybody. So just take a tin. I like a medium-sized tin. You can find them on Amazon. I will link them below, and then cut out some festive scrapbook paper. You might have to tape 2 pieces together to fit all the way around your tin, and then you can just tape that paper on the back. I've also used ribbon and lace to embellish my tins as well. And then you can put on my free printables. I have this Christmas baking kit. I have a whole bunch of other different themed kits, coffee kit, cold and flu kit, movie kit, date night in a tin kit, you name it. I will link to those down in the description box below. For this baking kit, I am putting in a really beautiful little apron. I'm also putting sugar cookies in a jar where a person can just add some butter and make the sugar cookies. Again, I will link to that recipe below. This one has a free printable where you can tie on the recipe to the cookies in a jar and tie that on. I also like to fill my tins with anything like tissue paper or shredded paper to just add some festive look and some height. I also put some Christmas sprinkles in here, which also has a free printable, and a Christmas cookie cutter, as well as a wooden spoon. And look how cute that is for a teacher gift, for a friend or a neighbor, and so easy and inexpensive to make. Now I want to show you how to make this cozy arm knit cowl, so easy as well, and such a sweet gift. I actually found this super chunky yarn at my local dollar store, Dollarama, for only $5 for one of these rolls. I used 1.5 skeins of this to make my arm knit cowl. So first things first, you have to make a slip knot. So you make a circle in your yarn and then pull another circle through. Make sure to leave a nice long tail so that you have some yarn to work with. And then you put your yarn between your index finger and your middle finger and your thumb. And then you take your hand and you basically kind of thread it through like this under, and then pull the working yarn through to make a loop. If you need some more instruction on how to make this arm knit cowl, I will leave a link down in the description box below. A lot of these tutorials I'm going to zip along and go really quickly because I want to fit lots of them into this video. So make sure to check out the longer versions or the written versions down in the description box below. Then you're going to start arm knitting. So I'm just basically taking my hand, grabbing that working yarn and pulling it through the loop that I've created on my arm, and then bringing it over to the other hand. You just need to make sure you twist the loop towards yourself when you're putting it on your other arm. And then you're going to transfer all the stitches to your first arm. So you pull your working yarn through the loop on your left hand and then pull the loop onto your right hand. Loop over working yarn, pull it onto the right hand. This is a lot of fun. Once you get good at this, you can make one of these arm knit cowls in 10 to 15 minutes. Just make sure that you're not wearing any jewelry or you don't have anything to do for 15 minutes because you're going to be literally wrapped up in yarn as you do this. If you need to add on another skein, you can just simply use a square knot to attach one skein of yarn to another. So for this arm knit cowl, I'm just making 4 stitches, and then I did enough rows to wrap around my own neck. I just used myself to see how long I needed to make this scarf, and you can just kind of experiment with how long you need to make yours. Once you're all finished going back and forth and making these giant knit stitches, you have to cast off. So basically you arm knit like you were doing, and then once you have 2 stitches on your hand, you pull the first one over the second one and you're casting off just like this. Again, check out the link in the description box below for the full written tutorial for this if you have any questions. Finally, you just cut off the end and pull it through the loop. And then you can stitch the cowl together. I basically just put it to the wrong side and then take any leftover yarn that I have and then just weave it through from one side to the other with my finger. So I'm putting the yarn through the stitches on one side and then through a stitch on the other side, back and forth, and then once it's all connected, you can go ahead and cut off any excess yarn and weave it through some of the stitches on your scarf to make sure it's nice and secure. I also tie a knot at the end of my work as well to make sure that that yarn does not unravel. I'll also leave in the description box below some yarn alternatives that you can use from Amazon and elsewhere to make a nice fluffy cowl like this with extra bulky yarn. I think this would make such a sweet gift, and I'm going to share some more knitting tutorials, not necessarily arm knitting, but smaller knitting tutorials on the YouTube channel soon. Now I want to show you how to make a really simple cardigan from a scarf. These kimono cardigans are so beautiful, and this is an inexpensive way to make one for a gift. So you just need a nice large scarf, and you can fold it in half lengthwise like I'm doing here, and then fold it in half vertically just like this. Next, take some scissors and you're just going to cut one of the layers on the front of your fold like I'm doing here. You can cut it all the way from the bottom hem to the top corner fold. Then you can open up your scarf, not all the way, just the first fold, and then mark 10 inches down on the left hand side and 3 inches over, and then make a line from that mark down about 6 inches. Then you're going to pin through this mark to make sure that the kimono cardigan stays in place, and then repeat that same process for the other side. So mark 10 inches down and 3 inches over, and then make a line that's 6 inches down from that line. Secure that with a pin. So here's how that pattern looks. I do have this one on my blog as well, and I will link it down in the description box below. And then you're just going to use a regular sewing machine and a regular straight stitch. And so from the top of that line to the bottom, making sure to back stitch at the front and the bottom. And then finally that raw edge that you cut, you're going to fold that over 2 times to make a small little rolled hem, and use your sewing machine to create that hem and make a nice finished edge for your kimono cardigan. And once that rolled hem is finished, you are all done your simple kimono cardigan. I think this would make a great gift by itself for anybody, or you could also bundle it up with some other handmade items and make a sweet outfit for one of your friends or your family members this Christmas. Now I want to show you how easy it is to make a no-sew blanket scarf. So just get some flannel fabric. Any sort of flannel fabric will do. I like the double-sided flannel. And then just cut it to the size you want. So my finished scarf is about 1 meter by 1 meter square. Then if you need to, you can trim off any irregular edges. Using a plaid fabric is nice and easy because you can follow along on the lines of the plaid to make sure that your square is nice and straight. Then take a pin and start pulling at the threads. You're going to make a really small little fringed edge. I like to use a pin to pull away at the fibers, and then you can use your fingers and your hands to pull the rest of the fibers away. You want to do this for about 1/8 to 1/4 inch of each edge of your scarf. Next, you're going to wash it in the washer and dry it in the dryer to make sure that that fringe is nice and long. And then to wear these, you can just fold them into a triangle and wrap them around your neck. They make beautiful gifts. You can put them in a gift bag with a gift tag, and they're so simple and inexpensive to make for Christmas this year for anybody on your list. Next, let me show you how to make this beautiful rustic farmhouse sign. This one I made with sort of a shiplap look and my mom's favorite Bible verse. So cut a piece of plywood to the size that you want for your sign, and then use peel and stick shiplap. This one is called stickwood. You simply just peel off the backing and you can stick it right to your plywood. Then if needed, you can take an X-Acto knife and trim off any of the excess shiplap. And then you can use a Cricut or a machine that's similar, a cutting machine, to make a stencil. I will leave a link down in the description box below to this stencil that I made. I have the file for free on my blog, plus all the instructions on exactly how I made it. Then you're going to stick the stencil right onto that shiplap portion of your sign. So I'm just using some vinyl to make the stencil. And then once the stencil is completely on your sign, you are ready to paint it. So what I do is I use some Mod Podge first and I seal off the stencil, because what this does is when you have really rustic wood like this shiplap, is it makes the paint not bleed. Then I'm using this really pretty gray chalk style paint and a foam brush, and I'm going ahead and painting the stencil like this. Then finally, once the paint is almost dry, you can go ahead and peel that stencil off. Take a pair of small tweezers and remove any of the small pieces of the stencil. Finally, you can go ahead and frame your stencil if you like, so just measure the edges of your piece of wood and then cut some 1x2 pine pieces to size. Before you attach them to your art, you can stain them. So I'm staining them using a weathered wood type of stain, a really pretty sort of gray stain that matches my parents' lake house. And then you can use a finishing nailer and go ahead and nail that frame to the sides and the top and bottom of your sign. What I do is I rest my sign on top of some scrap pieces of 1x2 so that my frame is lifted off the back a little bit, so it's really simple to hang. You can just hang this sign on some nails. And that's how to make this beautiful and unique gift. What I like about this gift idea is that it would be so fun to personalize and make exactly perfect for your friend or family member's home this season. Let me show you now how to make some really adorable pajama pants. I found this perfect PJ pants pattern. It's free online. I will link to it down below. And then you can just go ahead and print that pattern on your home printer and you can match up all the pieces. So this one is a kid's pattern. I also have instructions on how to make a man's pajama pants or women's pajama pants on my blog. I love pajama pants for a Christmas Eve gift, especially homemade. Then you can pick the cutest fabric. So just lay the pattern onto some flannel. Always pre-wash your fabric because then it won't shrink after you're finished. I did add a little bit of extra length on these pajama pants because these particular ones I was making for my oldest daughter. Pants are so simple to sew. You just have to cut out 2 pieces exactly like this. And then you fold the pieces in half lengthwise with the right sides facing together, and then you go ahead and sew along the inside leg seam. I'm using a serger to sew these, which basically hems the seam and sews it at the same time, but you can also use a regular sewing machine. So once you've sewn the inner legs together, you can sew this crotch seam. So you basically put the pants and line up that inner leg seam, right sides together, and sew along the seam. Next, you turn everything right side out. And then you can do the leg hems. So what I do is I roll the hems under about 1/2 of an inch and I use my iron to press them. And then I roll them under about another inch. And you can really customize this to the child that you're making these for or the adult that you're making them for if you choose to do the adult sizes, to make sure that they're exactly the right size for the person that you're giving them to. And then I go ahead and I prepare the top casing for the elastic. So I fold the top under about 1/2 inch and I iron that. And then I fold it another about 1.25 inches depending on how wide my elastic is, and I iron that as well. You're going to need some elastic and you just have to make sure it's about the same size waist as the person who's going to be wearing these pajama pants waist is. Then you can take a sewing machine and sew those hems in place. I use a regular sewing machine for this, a longer stitch, and I make sure to back stitch at the front and the back of my seam. So you do that for both of the leg bottoms. And then you do the same thing for the casing for the elastic. Just make sure to leave about 2 inches of non-sewed part of that casing so that you can put the elastic through. Then what I do is I cut my elastic to size. Then I put a safety pin on one end of it and a stick pin on the other. And I use my safety pin to thread that elastic through that casing that I've made. Once I reach the end, I just pull both ends of the elastic through the hole that I've left in my casing of my pajama pants. And then I use the zigzag stitch on my sewing machine to attach the 2 ends of the elastic together. And then the very final step for the pajama pants is just to use a straight stitch and sew the opening that you've left in the casing shut. And that's how simple pajama pants are to make. You could make a few of these all in one run, and they're a beautiful Christmas Eve gift for your family. Now let me show you how to make an arm knit blanket. You can put a fringe on this or just leave it as is. This is such a beautiful and cozy gift. I used a nice chunky wool for this. That dollar store wool would work as well. And then I went ahead and left about 18 forearm lengths of wool for my excess end. I made a slip knot just like I did for my arm knit cowl. And then I'm using the same technique to cast on my stitches as I did the arm knit cowl at the beginning of this video. So I'm taking my end of my yarn, my working yarn, wrapping them around my hand like this, and then I am creating some cast on stitches. So I take my hand, I put it under this portion of the yarn, grab this bit of yarn and pull it through to cast on some stitches. So for this particular blanket, I'm casting on 18 stitches. If you wanted to make a larger blanket, or if you're working with even thicker yarn, you might want to cast on less stitches. It's kind of one of those things you have to experiment with. And then same technique as that arm knit cowl. I'm going to move my stitches from one arm to the other and doing some arm knitting. So I grab my working yarn with my hand, and then I pull a stitch over and put the loop on my arm like this. Again, for these more lengthy DIYs, make sure to visit the links in the description box below for the full video, the more slowed down version, if you want to make sure you get every single step by step to make these. So I'm going to go ahead and go back and forth and do my arm knitting. This sort of blanket does take a while to make, so you do want to make sure that you have lots of time to sit down and do this. I can probably make one of these now in about 20 to 30 minutes. However, if you're just beginning with the arm knitting technique, it might take you a little longer. So at the end of your blanket, you're going to arm knit 2 loops, and then you're going to take the first loop you knit and pull it over the second loop to start casting off. And then you continue on in this way until you've cast off the complete blanket. And then you leave a loop at the end, cut off the yarn, and pull the end of the yarn through the loop. And that's how simple it is to make a beautiful arm knit blanket. You can add fringes if you like, so I just cut some excess pieces of yarn to size. I folded them in half, I popped them through one of the stitches at the bottom of the blanket, and then pulled the ends through just like this to create a fringe. Then you can do this from one side to the other of each end of your blanket. It gives it a really beautiful texture. Imagine this one wrapped up in a beautiful velvet bow given to one of your loved ones Christmas morning. It would be so cozy and beautiful. Now I'm going to show you how to make a teacup that has a sweet little fairy garden inside. The fun thing about this gift is that you can use a thrifted teacup set, and it makes for a really nice upcycled present. So just put a little bit of decorative gravel inside of the teacup, and then you can add some little sweet fairy garden accessories. So for this one, I've added a little apple tree and a toadstool chairs and table set. I'm also adding some reindeer moss. You can find this type of moss at a craft store, or you can get it at the dollar store as well. And then I'm also adding just the sweetest little tiny teacup set, and you can use a hot glue gun to secure things into your cup if you need to. I'm also adding some moss along the base of the teacup on the saucer. And then I'm just taking some twigs that I found in my forest and creating a tiny little fairy ladder. So I'm just using some scissors to cut to size and my glue gun and creating a little ladder. This gift is so whimsical. It would be a fun teacher's gift or a gift for that person in your life that you're not exactly sure what to get them for. This is such a cute little decorative piece that is just such an interesting conversation starter. Now let me show you how to make the simplest tassel necklace. So you can find all the pieces of a necklace at Michael's or another craft store, so you just have to get a chain, a beautiful gem, as well as a tassel. And then all you need to do is pull that chain through the gem and the tassel, and you've created a necklace. That's how easy this one is to make. You can often find a lot of these necklace elements at Michael's on sale for 45% off, 50% off, and more. And you can just collect these over the next month or two to make some personalized necklaces for your friends. Now let me show you how to make some mittens out of thrifted sweaters. So just find some of your favorite thrifted sweaters at your thrift store, give them a good wash, and then take a mitten that you already have, an adult size, and you can trace it onto a piece of cardstock. Then take your sweaters and put them inside out, put the pattern that you created on top of the sweater, and trace it with a Sharpie. So basically you want to line up the bottom of your mitten with the bottom of the sweater so that you can use that edge as your mitten edge. Pin everything together and then go ahead and take your sewing machine and sew along the Sharpie line you created. I'm just using a nice long stitch and my regular sewing machine. And then you can cut around the mitten, just leave about 1/8 of an inch from your stitch line. You can test out your mitten at this point to make sure that it's the right size, and then if it is, you can finish off your seam that you created with a zigzag. So I just use the zigzag setting on my sewing machine and make sure that it goes right off of the knit fabric and go all the way around the mitten. And then you just have to turn your mitten right side out, and one is already finished. To make the second mitten, to complete the pair, make sure you flip your pattern around so that the thumb is on the other side, and repeat the whole process. These are really fun to make, very simple, and I think they look so cute. Plus they're another great way to use thrifted items and upcycle them for gifts. When I give these, I love to put some things inside them. So you could put some bath products, you can put some other surprises inside, and then you can wrap up the wrists with a bow, and it makes such a sweet gift this Christmas. Thanks so much for watching this video today. I hope you enjoyed these 10 Christmas gift ideas that you can make for your family and friends. Let me know down in those comments below which of these gift ideas was your favorite. I would also love to know, are you going to be making gifts for your family and friends this season? Are you going to commit to a handmade Christmas this year? Let me know down in the comments below. Just comment, I'm going to commit to a handmade Christmas this year. I'm not asking you to make every single present. I'm just asking, try to make about half or more. I'm going to try to do the same this year because there's something so special about a handmade gift rather than something store-bought, maybe combining something store-bought with something handmade, things like that. So let me know down in those comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more DIY and decor ideas. And I'm gonna leave some more videos that I hope you will enjoy right up here.